Welcome. Yeah, tell me afterwards.
All right, everybody's gotta be legal now.
We gotta be legal. Were you illegal before that, Mr. Mayor?
I feel like at some point.
Well, we have to watch what we say.
Not that we were saying anything that wasn't appropriate.
Always
That's what I
watch
said.
what we say.
You're not supposed to follow them.
Oh, boy, you guys are here, both here today.
Was all dressed up, man.
Well, in all the years I've been going to these meetings. I
Pete,
never
what'd you do? Put a clean shirt on?
I never got one either when I worked here.
Do we need to get you a shirt?
No,
Do you have a shirt, MB?
after tonight, no. Oh, regular meeting of the city of Cedar Springs of October 14th to order. If you would all please rise and we will recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For those of you in the audience in attendance in the council, if you have a cell phone, if you would please put it on silent if possible. Number 2, roll call. Miss Atchison,
Here.
Miss Conley,
Here.
Mr. Gross,
Here.
Mrs. Nixon,
Here.
Mrs. Powell,
Here.
Mrs. Race.
Here.
Oh, you're zooming in.
Yay.
Okay. Mayor Hall is here. Moving on to item 3, public comment.
Mr. Hall, if I may, Ms. Race, could you please tell us where you're zooming in from and your reason for zooming, please?
Yes, my daughter has COVID, so I am home in Cedar Springs, Michigan.
Thank you.
Thank you for the record.
I hope your daughter feels okay.
Thank you.
Worry.
You can drop off soon.
Moving on to public comment. The council welcomes and encourages the public to speak during the public comment of the public hearing portion of the agenda. However, council policy is to hear the public comment, not to act on the public comment at this time. Concerns brought before the council during the public comment portion of the agenda will be referred to the city manager for action. If, after communication with the city manager, no resolution is reached, the concerns will be elevated to the mayor and eventually to the council for action. Those citizens wishing to speak on agenda or non-agenda items will be allowed a maximum of 4 minutes each to address their concerns. This is the only time during the council meeting that citizens are allowed to address the council. Please state your name and address for the record if you would like. At this time, Mr. Howell.
My name's Ron Howell. I live at 404 8th Street. I'm here to lodge a formal complaint against the mayor.
Thank you.
I have been told that after this meeting, you're not going to do this anymore.
You're absolutely right.
I wanted you to know that as an individual, for the years that I've known you, you've been one of the most honest persons. You've known so much about the city. You've done so much to be a mayor and control this bunch. So you're doing the wrong thing. You need to stay. This is my formal complaint against you. I guess as a final note, I think it's going to personally hurt me because I don't know if I'll sleep well. So if you're not here as the mayor.
Duly noted. If you put that in writing, we'll submit it to the manager and elevate it to the mayor.
I've talked to the manager about this and he told me it's going to happen. So I'd like to ask you to bypass that and shoot it straight to the council.
I'll make an exception to return speed. There's been many people who have encouraged me to run again. And, you know, it's time. You know, people ask me how long you've been here and I say too long. you know, it's time for new blood, new ideas, new directions. And you know that as a former manager that, you know, moving forward with new people is sometimes better.
No, I'm a citizen. You can't do that.
We have a petition you can sign to take my place.
No, I had to make sure I came here tonight.
Thank
You've
you.
done a lot for the city and I'm gonna miss you.
I
So
appreciate it. Thank you very much for your kind words. Just doing my job. Mrs. Wolf.
Sue Wolf, 15290 Tisdale Avenue, and I just have two. The first one is just to give you a little update on the pickleball situation. As you know, I passionately believe our community needs it. Good news, we now have 2 courts at Hilltop, and our city manager has been up there and met several people and checked it out, which we were so excited, our first dignitary to visit the courts. So, but we're going to try to get him back, and we hopefully will have a 3rd court. Rollins Excavating is taking down the poles, and Arcs Electric is disconnecting the electric. So soon we'll have 3 courts. And then Beach Elementary will open starting next week, every Monday and Wednesday. And we'll have 3 courts in Beach Elementary. So 1 court will be dedicated to newer players, the other 2 for the more competitive. So there's still time. We hope to see you. And then, as you know, the school is voting on a sinking bond proposal. Very small part of it is a concentrated wellness program, and pickleball courts are part of that. So if that passes, we won't have to bug Mike about it. But if it doesn't, the day after the election, Mike said he wanted to talk, so I will be here. So, but now on the really, really, really important thing, and to follow up on what Ron said, is on behalf of the Cedar Springs Community Building Development Team, and some of our members are here, but actually, as you know, that team consists of thousands of people throughout the community. And I got the honor of actually representing this club tonight, this team. And in so doing, we're here to honor and thank you, Jerry. Words can never express all of our gratitude to you. I've personally had the pleasure of working with you, and most of us all know you. You're one of the most amazing people that have ever graced our community. And there is going to be an article in the Post and in the Bugle coming up soon. So I would encourage you to check that out. It gets into a little more detail. And I was reminded you have a very intense meeting tonight. So we could take about 3 hours to go through all the things, and you guys probably know them better than I. But we would like to officially present. Oh, the cake was made by Sue Maybe, who's she has legendary status with her Texas sheet cake. So she made that for you in honor of Jerry, and she made a few extra copies. She's with her grandkids tonight, so she couldn't be here, but she really wanted you to have that. Maybe it's your favorite, I'm not sure. I'll just read the certificate, which says, Certificate of Appreciation. This certificate is awarded to Mayor Gerald Hall in recognition of valuable contributions to the Cedar Springs community. Your hands-on and ready to serve leadership over the last 44 years is immeasurable. You have left a positive and permanent footprint in the foundation of our Cedar Springs community. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna be in big trouble. Because Amy wanted to know if there's gonna be a special meeting. I said, no, it's just a regular meeting. So,
Kurt, can you go up for a picture? He is, as you know, our chairman. He just asked me to do the presentation, but he signed the certificate.
oh, yeah, I did, by God.
Like it means something for me.
Same here, buddy. Oops, I gotta get my bad arm up. There. You're past your 4 minutes.
Okay, Kurt, can you- Thank you very much.
It's me, not you.
Turn around this way so they can get a picture of over here.
Yeah, my best side already.
Yeah, really. It's just Buck wants one. He just sees us. He could have took pictures of us many other times as well. That's another fishing partner between Kurt and I. We have done a few fishing trips. Thank you all. Any other persons wishing to? Thank you. Thank you all.
I am Kurt Maybe. I'm a citizen lifelong in Cedar Springs. I want to thank my friend Jerry. You are the epitome of a civil servant. Shining example for many years. I said I wasn't going to do this, but anyways. I refer to Jerry as many things: exalted leader, grand poobah, et cetera, on and on.
One who can't catch fish.
That's beside the point. Dynamite next time. Anyways, Jerry, you always say that you're from the government and you're here to help. Jerry, you are. You could not have accomplished the projects in Cedar Springs without your leadership and knowledge and guidance. My friend, I thank you. And so, oh, great one.
Oh, boy.
I had to look far and wide to make sure I got this right, but anyways, here is your exalted leader, grand poobah.
No,
So no shirt envy.
I told you that if you got one, you had to get one.
They ran out.
Yeah, yeah. I think this is a setup. Because I told him if he got one, he wanted to give me a hat like Fred Flintstone's. I said, do you get one? We're both getting it and I'll wear it at your meeting.
Anyways, yeah, thanks, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you all. You know, when I said I'm from the government, I'm here to help, I meant that. In years past with being in the National Guard, you know, it wasn't, you were from state headquarters, you weren't there to help. You were there to hinder, in my opinion. So I've always put the motto, the four-way test, Rotary. That's first. Help somebody, whatever you do. Ugh, now, if we have any other persons wishing to address the council at this time? Yes?
Hello, everybody. I'm Ashley Hamill. So on a personal note, I just want to say how heartwarming this meeting is so far. I'm so honored to be able to have learned from you for the last year. And I'm kind of sad that I didn't come here sooner because everyone really loves you. So on a more professional note, I'm running for city council. I moved here in September of 2020 and I started on the planning commission in December of 2020. So I've been working alongside of Mr. Jerry there. Super excited to be able to represent the citizens of Cedar Springs. I want to encourage participation in local politics. And I also want to continue making Cedar Springs a really fun family place to live, improving recreation and also infrastructure. And so I'm here to humbly ask you for your vote, members of the city council and also members of Cedar Springs. So thank you and make sure to vote.
Not always that nice here. Thank you. Any other persons wishing to address the council at this time? Last chance. Okay, moving on to a presentation from our audits.
This is the exciting part of the meeting.
Yeah,
Let's take it down a notch.
this is always the first page or the second page. That's the only one, but I looked at them all and it come out very clean.
Darla is a rock star.
Darla did a great job. We were out here and got through the audit process relatively quickly. And if you have your book in front of you, I'll tell you the pages, but I'll flip through the slideshow as well as we go here. But on the bottom of page 1 is our opinion on the financial statements, and that says the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the city. So that's a good, clean opinion, and certainly what you want to have when you have an audit done. In addition to the regular audit report and opinion, there's also way in the very last page, there's a internal control report. We expand the scope of the audit a little bit to encompass government auditing standards, which requires a few more procedures. And that's required by your outstanding USDA bond that's still out there. So we have to do this, but it gives you, a-
bonds we took out for the water treatment plant.
yeah, years ago. Yes.
They're
As
almost
long as they're outstanding, we do this.
Yep.
But if you look on that, there's internal control and compliance at the financial statement level. If there were any significant material weaknesses or deficiencies, we would report them here, but there are none. So nothing bad to report. Pages 3 through 8 is management discussion and analysis. It kind of tells you a little bit about what's in the audit itself. Financial highlights on the top of page 3, I would just point you to those. Just continuing work on the strategic planning, the wastewater plant, and the new fire station was completed this year. And I'll show you where that is. Several streets resurfaced and continued development in the city. So things are going well. And then the first slide, here's the real test. It works. The first couple slides here are based on page 9 through 11 in your report, and this is the government-wide financial statements. And you can see this says governmental activities. That's all the activities in the city except for water and sewer. So everything else. And then this is on a full accrual basis, it's called. That's kind of accounting stuff, but it includes the capital assets of the city, like your streets and other infrastructure, as well as the related debt associated with that, compensated absences, and net pension liability. So on the bottom of page 9, this is not in the graph here yet, but on the bottom of page 9, you can see unrestricted net position of 1.8 million. A lot of communities have a negative amount there. You have a very good amount there, and the net pension liability really drives that number down. Your net pension liability is only 450,000, so it's not too bad compared to a lot of many communities throughout the state and country have a negative net assets there. Next, pages 10 and 11. That's this slide. This just gives you a quick graphic of where the governmental activities revenue is coming from. Just by way of comparison, last year your property taxes were 55%. The operating grants there was 22%. Everything was pretty much the same except for the little green slice of pie there, which is the charges. Last year that was 7%. This year it jumped up to 11%. That's primarily due to the new licensing fees for the marijuana facilities that is included in the charges now. So that really drove that number up. Then the next slide here is a picture kind of the expenses by department or by area compared to the direct or program revenues for each of those areas. And the difference between, see how expenses are a lot higher than the program revenues in many of the areas. The difference there is what's covered by the property taxes and state shared revenues. Those are called general revenues, not program or specific revenues. And the weird one there is the streets. That revenue side includes all of the Act 51 money that comes from the state, but the streets built with that money aren't expenses, but they're capitalized. So the expenses aren't really there, but the street revenue is all there. So that's what.
So are they considered an asset?
Yes, a capital asset. Yes.
I totally did not understand that.
That's the infrastructure asset that you might have heard.
What is our
that name.
street?
Yes.
Government rules.
Yep.
Well, I understand that like our buildings are, but I
Yes.
didn't understand our
Yep.
streets were.
Yep.
Water main, sewer, all that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, those are in the water and sewer fund, but this includes streets, all the municipal buildings.
So the
new-
water assets.
The new
were
fire
done-
station is an asset.
That I knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I didn't know our actual like pavement.
Yeah,
Are sidewalks an asset?
yeah, they are.
Anything in the right of way, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about trying to sell them?
Yeah.
Yes, that's
I was gonna
it.
say, good
Yeah,
luck
good
selling them.
luck.
More like what can we leverage
Yeah.
to get more new ones?
The next 4 pages, 12 through 15, are the fund basis financial statements. That's more what you're probably accustomed to seeing as you go month to month. When Darla gives you reports, they're kind of on this basis. So just on the general fund, to point out on page 12, you have unassigned fund balance in the general fund of about 1.3 million. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide. Street funds also have a pretty healthy fund balance, about 700,000 in the major street fund. So they're doing very well. And then this slide here just kind of gives you a kind of a rundown of the revenues for the last 6 years, the major revenues. But in the general fund, not anywhere else, just the general fund. You can see the property taxes have just been going steadily up, and that's value increases. State shared revenue has just steadily increased. It was kind of expected that would fall this year due to COVID, but it is actually up higher because they got the federal money and replaced state money with federal money and called it state revenue. It was kind of an odd little switch there. And then the other, you can see that took a big bump there. That includes all of the other revenue in the general fund. So the big driver there is again the marijuana money for licensing fees. And then this next slide, I have all this written down, but I must have memorized it. This is a picture of your property tax revenues across all the funds. And you can see for the last several years, it just steadily increased like we just saw in the general fund. And then this year for 21, it took a big jump. And that's the new debt millage for the fire station that was voted separately. So that's a separate millage and it's in a separate fund, but still part of the overall property taxes. That was about 230,000, which was that jump. And here's the expenditures by function in the general fund. Nothing real unusual here or unexpected. You can see like several years ago, there was a big jump in public safety. I believe that was probably a year when they bought a fire truck. So that's what causes any jumps in here. There was nothing unusual when I kind of looked into the numbers. So
Nuclear steam powered fire truck.
Want one of those?
Yeah.
Now, this is the general fund balance I mentioned a minute ago. Unassigned or available fund balance is just over 1.3 million. And that's running about 70% of your annual expenditures. So your board policy is to not let that go or to have a minimum fund balance of 20%. So you're above the policy and in really good shape financially as far as the percentage goes. And just a couple slides on the water and sewer funds, which are the next few pages. Bottom line on page 17 of the sewer and water funds. These are your two business type activities, they're called. Change in that position increased in the sewer of 170,000, the water increased about 280,000. So you can see that graphic there, the little yellow bar is the increase. And then in addition to the operating, we also look at the cash flows in these funds, and cash flows was also positive in both of the funds, about 200 and 300,000 for sewer and water respectively. And there's your water fund. So you can see the last several years, your revenues are exceeding expenses, and that's good. That means you're covering all your depreciation, you're accumulating a little bit of cash, and they're in good shape. That's it. There is a couple footnotes. I would just, if you have your book with you, but on page 27, footnote 2, there's only one very minor over expenditure of the budget. Oh, I was also going to look at the budget for the general fund. If you go to page 37, I think it was. Yeah, page 37. I was going to mention the general fund budget while we were on the general fund. You ended the year with a positive 258,000. The budget was to end the year with a positive 33,000. So you finished about 225,000 above your budget. And again, just one very minor over expenditure. The fire station improvements, you can take a peek at those on page 28 and footnote 5. You can see your capital assets, which includes your buildings and improvements, other infrastructure. Yeah, there's a purchase there of about 3.3 million. Most of that is the new fire station. And as far as debt goes, on page 30 and 31, long-term debt, there's no new debt issued this year, and about 670,000 was paid off during the year. So that's all I got is good news for our departing mayor.
On the major street, we have 700 some thousand. We have a resurfacing project coming up and our Main Street Bridge being redone.
That'll use all that up.
Yeah.
And then some.
And some, so great.
Yeah, the Department of Transportation doesn't necessarily like to see high fund balances in those funds, but if you have plans in place, which you obviously do, perfectly
We
acceptable.
save.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question?
Sure.
So you do this for a variety of municipalities,
Sure
correct?
do, yep.
Are you doing this for anyone else that has marijuana as one of their revenue streams? coming in?
There's several communities that do, yes.
Is ours consistent percentage wise, higher, lower?
I don't know about the individual fees. It seems like you had more applications than many other communities did,
Lot of applications.
whatever the reason, but.
Yeah.
But, and I know other communities are limiting it to, were you 3 dispensaries you were limiting it to? 6. Sorry, I didn't remember,
We
but
have a variety of different licensures. that
yeah.
allow-
And other communities are doing much that same thing and are getting the fees in as well, but.
I just wondered if what we're experiencing is consistent, if it's like in your experience, pops a one-time pop, is it a?
Well, it's new for everybody, so
Not hard. to
I
say?
don't, yeah, it's
Okay.
either a year, maybe 2 years of looking back at history, but haven't seen a lot of changes yet, but.
Mr.
Enough.
Mayor, could I address that question briefly?
Yes, go ahead.
So I was speaking with the city manager of Lowell the other day, and they're actually in a very similar position to what we're in.
Okay.
And we both agreed that we're probably in a mature market going to see approximately $200,000 per year of marijuana money. We actually haven't seen that amount. I believe we saw $40,000-$50,000 this year, because there's 2 different components. There's a licensing,
Right.
which is $5,000 per business per year.
And
But then there's excise tax,
taxes. Yeah.
which we haven't seen any of because our first license started this year after the period where they just distributed money. So we'll see approximately $20,000 to $25,000 per year per retailer or micro business.
And I know most of us on this board who voted for this didn't vote for it specifically for the money. It was more about making sure that our community has access and
But the money
minimalizing
doesn't hurt.
a whole variety of reasons, but
We're going off track.
well,
here.
I'm just saying, but it would be nice to know what some of the financial,
No.
because that was down our list when we were making the determination, but it's nice to see,
Yeah.
Any other questions?
because I really
of our
thought it might be a
auditor?
wash. I mean, for real.
Any questions of Darla of our audit? Ms. Falcon?
You need cake,
Thank you.
All right.
'cause that was fabulous.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Moving on, folks, if you would like to leave, you don't have to sit through this whole boring session.
As much as we like having you all.
You're
Yeah,
welcome to be here,
welcome. Good to see you all.
but you're also welcome to leave at any point.
Moving on, then, we have no public hearings.
We do not at this time.
Okay, at this time, we're looking at adoption of the agenda.
Mr. Hall, I would like to offer some modifications if I could.
I would love that. Adding or subtracting?
A little bit of both, actually. So under item 6F, F is in Frank.
Resolution in support of completing the paving of the White Pine Trail.
No, that was wrong. G,
Approve an additional 27.
For the bridge?
correct.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'm not a math magician, so I screwed that up. I apologize. The actual number is 34,255.
This money.
Just money.
Well, and I mean, ultimately, we're talking about a
Okay.
cost increase of something like $600,000. Our portion's only going up 30,000, which I think is an amazing deal anyway. you
It's,
slice it.
yeah,
And then unfortunately, I'd like to offer an item for the consent agenda, and that is a resignation letter of Patrick Ensley from the Construction Board of Appeals. So we'll make that 6GHH. Let's go with H, 6H.
all right. Any other changes or modifications to the agenda?
Yes, I wanted to add something to the discussion agenda.
What are you taking away?
I'm adding to the discussion agenda. Just liked some discussion on what the Ash Street, the end of Ash Street is gonna happen there, or what the plans are. And that's,
Item H.
yes.
Okay, yeah, did you get your memo from the manager?
Did I get a memo?
Yeah, we'll read his last memo on Ash Street.
I did get the memo.
Okay,
and I
no
thought
problem.
it would be nice for the public and the
H.
citizens to know.
Okay, no problem. Any other additions or subtractions? Hearing none. What's the will of the council?
Mr. Mayor, I will make a motion to adopt the agenda with the addition of those 2 items. Support.
Any other further discussion? Roll call vote. Ms. Atchison,
Yes.
Ms. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Ms. Nixon,
Yes.
Ms. Powell,
Yes.
Mrs. Race,
Yes.
Mr. Hall votes yes. Consent adoption of the agenda. Moving on now to the consent agenda. Will the council?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any other further discussion? Any questions or clarifications? Okay, moving on, roll call vote. Ms. Atchison,
Yes.
Mrs. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Ms. Nixon,
Yes.
Ms. Powell,
Yes.
Ms. Race,
Yes.
Mr. Hall votes yes. Approved. Consent. Moving on then to item 7. Action items. Mr. Romax.
So we discussed this last month and the board asked to have some input from the DDA and the chamber. The DDA at least gave input that they'd like to hold the downtown trick or treating event on Friday, the 29th. I believe from 5 to 7. I'm sure Mr. Probst has those numbers. So approximately 5 to 7 p.m. But I could not consensus regarding whether we wanted to make any kind of changes or recommendation to citywide trick or treating, which is traditionally done on Halloween, but of course Halloween's on a Sunday this year. And some people want to combine the 2 events. Some people want to keep them separate. And I guess I'm not qualified to make that call. So I guess I present it to the board to make a decision about how you guys.
Okay. Okay, when do we want trick or treat? Friday night or Sunday is what it amounts to. The chamber and all the businesses downtown are doing the trick or treating. And I guess my thought is that if the kids are dressed up in their Halloween outfit, they'll trick or treat on Friday. And I think those that want to do it on Halloween, Sunday evening, go ahead, you know, the kids get all fired up with sugar before they go to school. But that's,
So a couple other considerations. The reason the DDA and chamber has to do it on Fridays because a lot of businesses are not open on Sunday in the city.
correct.
The school district has told me that they're likely to have their costume events at school on Friday. So kids will all be ready wearing their costumes.
Oh, yes.
The only downside about Friday is there's likely to be a high school football game that night because I guess our high school team is doing very well. And so, you know, I hear and see a lot of chatter. I think a lot of people want to do Halloween on Sunday. You know, if I was a kid, I'd be more than excited to do, you know, Halloween twice. So I guess it's whatever you guys want to do.
My preference would have been Saturday, but nobody,
I would second that.
right?
Yep.
I mean, Sunday's a hard day to do Halloween. Just, I mean, as a mom, I can tell you that getting them sugared up and trying to get up the next day to go to school and everybody's dragging. But
I live in a very large neighborhood, and I think everyone in Cedar goes to our neighborhood. And I think it's really it's kind of a big deal. So I think Saturday night is a good time for the city to have it. Friday night, have it downtown, because they would dress up twice. Kids love to wear their costume more than once, you know? So that is just how I feel.
Mrs. Powell, what's your opinion?
Been thinking about this a lot. And I think we should leave it as is on October 31st. Get the kids out a little earlier than normal, shut off trick or treating at 7 o'clock. But
We're
splitting it
talking
up
about
between,
Halloween, so it's like it's not even anything right now.
it's the day to do it as far as I'm concerned.
Okey dokey. Miss Atchison,
I don't know. I mean, all different areas are gonna have it all different nights because of the fact that it is on Sunday. Halloween actual 31st is on Sunday. So that's why it's such a question when to do it. The downtown is gonna do their Friday. But also we gotta worry about the football game. I say Friday, Sunday, I guess.
which day?
Friday and Sunday,
Sunday for the city.
Saturday for the city.
Because the businesses will do what the businesses do. We don't get to tell them they can't.
Yep, Miss Powell, what was your decision?
The 31st, that Sunday. And also, any other time you got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you have school days then. So,
Yeah.
it's
And it's a
always
joke.
going to be an issue.
One more thing is when I was on Cedar Springs Informed last night, people were asking when it was going to be, and somebody piped up and said, it's always on the 31st.
There you go. Ms. Conley, what's your decision?
My preference, as I've said, would have been, and we love Halloween in our house, would have been Saturday.
So what
But
day?
if the businesses want to do it on Friday, then I'm going to be inclined to say, let's all go with them. But if everybody wants to do two, I don't have a dog in this fight. My kid's 14. He'll
So
do
what
whatever.
what day do you think you want them?
I'm
Who
hearing
wants to
I'm
go?
hearing Friday and Sunday.
So what day do you want?
Well, I told you what I want. I want Saturday, but that
Okay.
doesn't seem to be the consensus.
So what is your final,
I will go with the split if that's what
be
the
a
community
politician,
wants.
be a politician, break the tie. What day do you want?
Well, no, there is no tie.
Yeah, there is.
Saturday is the day I want.
All right, you want Saturday. Mr. Gross, what day would you like?
I guess I do have a question for Mr. Walmack. Why did the chamber decide on Friday night versus Saturday night?
I didn't ask them that question.
I mean, if they're closed on Sundays, and I understand, and they want to be doing this for the kids, I probably would have leaned towards Saturday also, but I also understand that once you get the kids out, you probably should just keep them out, because the parents probably aren't going to want to go out twice. The kids may want to go out all weekend, but the parents are only going to go out once. I would go along with the chamber and say Friday. But I just couldn't figure out why they opted for Friday versus a Saturday, especially for the reasons that you pointed out.
Yeah, so for what it's worth, I think most businesses would say Friday or Saturday, we don't care. So I don't see any reason you couldn't say Saturday.
Well, then I'm going to say Saturday, because I think
Right.
it's just as functional for them. And it keeps them off the road on a weekend. And yes,
Alright.
there could be a lot of traffic based on a playoff game.
You pick Saturday.
Saturday, yes.
Ms. Nixon,
But really, we're conflating two things. So
Yeah, that's what.
whenever Halloween lands, whatever day the 31st is, that is Halloween. But what we are in a position to talk about is when we're going to provide policing on Main Street.
correct.
And
And-
participate.
Right. So if the chamber is saying Friday night is when they are willing to put on this event. And Friday night is when we are going to expect lots of people to be on Main Street and need help crossing the street. I think we should go with Friday night.
Yeah.
All
And
right,
people are going to trick or treat Sunday night, no matter what we say. That's gonna happen.
thank you. Mrs. Race, Saturday, Sunday, Friday,
All of them. No, I'm just kidding.
pick one. So we can end this.
The month of October.
Yes.
I know. I just feel like Saturday is a better day for all of it. If I have
Sure
to
is.
pick, that's what I'm picking.
Well, Saturday has it. So I would entertain a motion to that effect.
This is the difficulty though, Mr. Mayor.
Not
Make the
really.
Businesses do anything they're not
Yeah.
willing to do.
Can I ask a question? So does that mean that the businesses are gonna do it on Saturday also?
I will encourage the business
to do it.
Saturday
Well,
instead.
and to do it the same day would probably be the correct option. Then like Molly said, then we'd have the
Well,
police.
To
and
a
all.
certain extent, I'm with Ms. Nixon that Halloween's on the 31st and there ain't nobody.
I know, it's a hard thing
But
to decide, that's
This is
why.
the only day we're providing police protection.
Right.
So if you want your kids to trick or treat and not get run over, let them come Saturday.
so I will encourage the businesses to participate on Saturday and hopefully we can get the deputies to be up here on Saturday.
You need a motion to that?
I don't think so. If you guys feel confident in that, I'll order on my own authority.
Okay. That's okay. Okay, moving on then to B. The quick claim deed for the drainage easement on 17 North Main, directed city manager to transfer, effective transfer.
So the planning commission has recommended that the council approve of this. This is the property immediately north of the Chase Bank parking lot. It's not buildable anymore due to a storm drain that's run through that property. And I've had discussions with the DDA about developing that into a public picnicking area, which I think would be a good use.
What?
A picnic area.
Yeah.
So we did have some older picnic tables put out there for Red Flannel Day. I walked past it several times. It was being used.
Yeah, it was full the entire time that I was by there.
Yeah, so, for a lot that cannot be built upon, I'd rather be the destiny, masters of our own destiny, own it, and we can do what we want.
Thank you. The DDA did recommend it to the council to accept it with the exception that it would only be used for public use. So,
Mr. Mayor, I will make a motion to approve and accept the quitclaim and reservation of drain easement from 17 North Main Street and direct the city manager to effectuate the transfer.
Second there.
who wants that one? What'd you get?
Rose can have it. Rose can
Flip a
have it.
coin.
I was waiting for somebody else to do it.
Any discussion on that matter? Yeah. Thank
A
you.
couple times in the past.
Roll call vote then. Ms. Atchison,
Yes.
Ms. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Ms. Nixon,
Yes.
Ms. Powell,
Yes.
Mrs. Race.
Yes.
Ms. Hall votes yes, motion carries. Moving on then to, oh my word, we're already on discussion items?
Mhm.
Moving on, item 8, discussion. Item A, 2020-2021 funds return to fund balance. Mr. Romax.
Yep, so this is something I've asked the finance director to include as soon as we can each year so that the council kind of knows where we're at. We are, I guess, fortunate in this community that we're able to save money at the end of each year instead of spend money at the end of each year. And we're still accomplishing the majority of our tasks. But, part of the reason we've been doing this and part of the reason we've been so conservative with our money for the last several years is because we've had these super major projects like the fire station, like the West Street project, And of course, I'm just always a little weary of having cost overruns and where's the money gonna come from? So we have saved a lot. I think Mr. Bradevelt said we're at approximately 70%. I think when I started, we were at 30-ish%. Council's policies, obviously 20%. But this also means that in the next few years, once we get past these bigger projects, we'll probably have money in the bank. So we can do some other bigger projects that we maybe a couple of years ago might not have been able to afford. So I guess I just presented to you so you guys know how we're doing.
We got
Mr.
some
Mayor, can I
big
ask a question?
projects. We've got some big projects upcoming. Yes, go
That's what I
ahead.
was just gonna say. Where does this stand with the money that we've been putting away for our Main Street redo and then the bridge?
That's in Major Street money.
Okay, so that's not a piece of this,
It's,
Well, I think we gave you information on all of the funds.
right?
yeah,
Some of it's just a little misleading because,
yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, so certain funds include assets like stuff we can't sell.
right.
Well, yeah,
But this is more just informational, so you guys know.
where it's going.
Now, are those assets that we can leverage against to get
Nope.
loan? No, I was gonna say
Nope.
to get a loan to finish paying for the bridge?
Nope.
Not
Is that a-
really. The way we leverage this are things like the,
We can borrow, take a loan or Act 51.
well, no, I was
Maybe.
gonna say the MDNR grants that we're working on right now. You know, you can get grants between $150,000 and $500,000.
Right,
And your percentage chance of getting that grant goes up with the more money that you say we're gonna match into that.
okay,
So, you know, say you put 50,000 up, your chance is 10%. You put $75,000 up and now your chances are 50%, 60% of getting that amount of money. So that's how you leverage it versus grant.
I see.
Correct.
But you can't like leverage a piece of concrete in the ground. As hard as we might try.
You can't mortgage it.
That was sort of where, when he said it was an asset, I was like, oh, can we, maybe
You
not.
can't.
Okay.
I think it's a depreciating asset.
Okay,
Yeah.
because that bridge, like, we've been putting money away for it, but it's not gonna be enough,
Well, we knew
right?
that.
I mean, am
No.
I right?
Yeah, so the problem with the bridge is cost overruns, primarily caused by COVID problems. Now thankfully, it sounds like we're still only gonna be responsible for 5% of the cost overrun. So the cost overrun was 500,000 something. And so the amount you approved earlier, the 34, represents our 5% of that $500,000 extra in cost. So
Okay,
again, great deal for us.
Absolutely.
Now, the way we're able to afford paying for that is the bridge project is the first of two major projects. We have a mill and fill project in 2023
right,
where we're responsible for 25%. 25% of that project, so we had to save a proportionately larger amount
okay,
versus the 5% for the bridge project.
got it,
Now, bridge project was expected to be 1.5 million, it's 2 million.
right,
The mill and fill was 600,000, 400,000,
Approximate, that's about,
Isn't
sounds
it
right.
about $500,000?
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But we're responsible for 20 or 25% instead of 5%. So really what we're doing is we're just taking some of that money,
And shifting it.
shifting it. So we'll have to find that money again, but we've got 108 new homes coming in. We've
Just,
got the West Street
just
project coming in.
clarifying, because these have been, I mean, this bridge has been on our radar for
Long time.
decade.
All right,
Well, I like the position we're in. We're in a good position.
Okay,
good. Any other questions before we move on?
Yeah, if I could. We know the infrastructure on the north end of Main Street is undersized.
Correct.
That's something at the same time as the mill and fill. Granted, you're gonna have to tear it all up in order to do it. That could be replaced, and how expensive might that be if?
Nope.
I'll say there's two
Well,
guys
that's
in
what
this
I was
room
afraid
who
of was the
who have
mill.
much greater knowledge about the DPW side of that. My understanding was when you mill and fill, you don't get deep enough for the water.
That's what I'm saying. You're gonna have to dig down to get to it. And that's why I was wondering what the cost was going to be. If we're gonna tear it up, I'd hate to come back 6, 7 years after we've redone the road and say, oh geez, now we gotta upgrade. So,
Yeah, so we've had this fight with Metro Council and other places where we get this money for a long time.
Mhm.
We originally had talked about doing a complete reconstruct of the road, which was gonna be $1.7 million.
Right.
But if we were to do that, this would have got pushed back several more years.
Well, it needs it now.
And so I said, mill and fill for 400,000, that'll last 8 to 10 years easily. We can come back 8 to 10 years from now and do that work.
This mill and fill won't cover any underground structure replacement. We would be on the hook for that. And then the timetable would be such, we would have to have it done and finished, completed before they did the paving.
Right. Yeah, I
So-
understand all that, but as long as we were tearing things up, my
is-
thought was,
They're not, they're only taking off.
yeah, I know, Jerry, but that's why I said we'd have to dig down to get to it. So
So-
it's changing the
Big
process.
Picture, the mill and fill lasts us 10 years.
8 to 10, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
right? And
So you-
then we need to do a full rebuild regardless.
We'll see where the,
Is that what I'm seeing Bill nod?
Necessarily.
Well,
At which point then we would probably dig to upgrade?
I don't like the word regardless, just because
Well, but I mean, that's the, you don't mill and fill again, right?
you can mill and fill until the end of time.
It's
The-
to
the
be
question-
perpetual.
Now, of course, pipes can just fall apart anytime too.
Yeah, well, we've had a little bit of that.
The question really becomes who's gonna pay for it? Because a $1.5 million reconstruct of just the road, we're not talking about replacing the
Right,
pipes.
right, I got it.
You're looking at $3-4 million project. for
Right.
that, And we don't have the money for that.
Because we did the Main Street, we did that, didn't we? Like 20
probably
years
about
ago?
15, 20
15 years ago?
And that's, this road, mill and fill again will approximately last that long again, probably 15 years. Blacktop expectancy is 12 years,
Okay.
about what's your life expectancy. So,
I'm just trying to get a big picture, 10,000 foot view of, while we have some
well,
really
by
good
then,
historic
there'll be
understanding in this room.
other trunk lines put in that will bypass that road because it'd be too expensive to
Oh.
regrade.
So that's the solution.
Well, that's what they'll do.
Well, it's really a multifaceted approach and problem. I think to a certain extent, the city wasn't properly taking care of some of the roads.
You think?
So when you have a problem develop on a road that's 5 years old, you can, I forget the exact solutions, but that you can put that rubberized stuff in the cracks and crack filler, thank you. There's progressive ways.
Technical term. Crack filler.
So there are ways to extend the life of a road. But the sewer and water issue is simply, where does the money come from? This money, we're only paying 20% of it.
Right, I'm not saying this is wrong. I'm trying to get a 15-year, 20-year picture, and what does this have to look like, and how do we have to allocate and.
Yeah, the water main was upgraded when the one construction was done on that approximately 12 years ago,
Okay,
north. The only situation might be the sanitary sewer, and that's running at or near capacity, and that could be bypassed by a lift station.
okay.
So it's just. a
So we
matter
would
of-
need another lift station.
Well,
Is that
that's
what,
for
no,
the
that's not what
developer.
I'm hearing.
That's for the developer to deal with, and there's a trunk line that can be pushed into there that would ineffectively take care of that, so.
You're the person who knows the most about the water, so if I don't ask these questions,
You didn't ask me.
I am asking you.
I'm not, okay. All right, everybody all okay with 2021 fund return to fund balance? We all set, so we can move on?
Yes.
Item B, Mr. Womack.
So the planning commission has worked on this for quite some time. Essentially what this is doing is it's taking the industrial properties that abut the White Pine Trail, and they're giving them a second additional level of use. So not to get too complicated into, what zoning does, but they're industrial buildings with industrial uses, but we're saying, you know what? If you want to convert to a more retail or commercial use, you can do that also. The idea being, if you have a little, industrial building next to the White Pine Trail, and you want to sell ice cream out of it to people who are up and down the White Pine Trail, which I think is an amazing idea,
Yeah,
you can now do that. So there's really no downside. to this.
Yeah, I think it's an
Okay.
excellent idea.
What's the will of the council?
So This is a discussion item, Mr. Mayor?
It's a first reading.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
first
You'll see it
reading,
come back
that's
next
right.
month.
So everybody, and we've talked about having this happen for many years and now it has.
Has anyone approached you about wanting to do this?
No,
maybe.
I think this is one of those things that people don't really understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's something that we now as a city can start advertising a little bit more widely because especially like on the end of Ash Street. I think there's a collection of buildings there that could be better utilized, but people don't realize what they can and can't do in certain locations. So I think it's going to be the city leading the way a little bit on this. So, but we're talking about 50 years in the future.
Right.
Okay. Moving on then to item C, Mr. Momack.
So I apologize, as you guys have seen in my emails, I was sick last month and I accidentally had you vote on the medical marijuana caregiver zoning ordinance, which you didn't have legal authority to do.
Oh.
So now we have a special hearing. We already,
Yep, so that ordinance has to go to the planning commission for a public hearing and a recommendation. So instead, what I'm offering to you here is the regulatory ordinance, which you do technically have the authority to approve if you want, but it might be wise to table this, wait for the other ordinance to come up and do them at the same time.
yep.
Yeah.
We're not in a rush
I
on
agree.
this. And it would give you guys the ability to look at them simultaneously and see how they work together.
You-
And it's always better when we have the planning commission weigh in.
Yep.
It's really their expertise.
How long did we extend the moratorium for?
So this is a separate issue. This is not
Still
under the
separate.
moratorium.
Right, but I was just wondering on the other,
So the other one, I thought we did indefinitely.
Yes.
did we go indefinitely?
correct
I couldn't-
numbers, but I've
I
got-
know we talked about it,
Yeah,
so,
so I've got some news for you guys when we get to that.
okay.
Moving on then to item D.
Okay, so this is the recreational adult marijuana establishments, which has the moratorium.
Mhm.
Okay, so our current license structure is unlimited licenses for all types of marijuana businesses that we allow. This board and the planning commission certainly knows, we've just been inundated by these businesses and not always for the good. And by that, I mean, you get some very low quality submissions. It requires a ton of work. It takes a ton of time, and I don't think it would be a stretch to say that for the last 12 to 18 months, dealing with marijuana businesses has been a significant portion of my and the planning commission's job. So I think that this board wanted to see this proposed marijuana ordinance change. And what I've proposed in here, the licensing part at least, is that we would limit the number of retail stores and the number of micro businesses. Those are the two that give us fits. Those are the two that are the sexy type of businesses. These are the ones that everybody wants to get into. In my draft, I have proposed 6 retailers, 1 micro business. Under your moratorium, it was 7 retailers, and I don't think any micro business limitation. Today, at about 3:45, I was given a 7th marijuana application. So I don't think it would be appropriate at this time to reduce that number to 6. I would ask the board to consider updating that number to 7. Other than that, the rest of the ordinance should remain somewhat the same. I do have one thing I want to talk to you about. Let me bring that up real quick.
When you say 7, you mean the 4 that's in the B2, B3,
You want to,
and the 3 out at the highway.
Correct.
Okay.
And so I guess that would be another question is accidentally, I didn't need to do it this way, but I accidentally did not include that separation. Under the moratorium, we have it 4 downtown, 3 out in the HC.
mhm.
Do you guys want me to have that, how it's currently situated, written into the ordinance? Because as it's written, you could theoretically put 7 downtown or 7 out in the HC.
I would want it to have that separation.
Yeah.
I think
Definitely.
that was very intentional. I
That was
agree.
purposeful, yeah.
I had a lot of discussion at the time.
You know, I would make a motion to restrict it to 6 with our current downtown location and the highway numbers out
So
there.
cut it down to 6 when we have it at
That's all we
7.
have right now. That's all we've
No, we-
allowed.
There was an,
So he says he's got another one that he's considering now.
Yeah,
And we
he's-
had it
Today.
at 7.
we have it at 6.
The problem is the moratorium said 7.
Mhm.
I accepted the
Right.
application today.
Mhm.
Mm,
So if we say 6, we're basically changing what we,
I
And-
know,
and now we've cut someone off at the knees.
I don't care.
Well, I think that,
All right, I would amend it to 6 only in the community. 7 only, excuse me.
so,
I
I
was-
because I was gonna say, we're under discussion
Yeah.
items right now,
Right.
right?
No, he said we can make a motion to pass this.
Do you want it?
We're discussing.
Some motion?
And one micro business, is that our other limit?
Yes.
So I said you could pass the previous one that we're no longer discussing. This one is not in a shape to be passed, unfortunately.
So,
And so I do have some other things I would like to address within it, if I could.
Okay.
So you'll see on page 202, some multicolored display there for you. You'll see under subpart F, all licenses expire 365 days from their date of issue. Unfortunately, we've already had an issue with these sections. And it seems a little unnecessarily strict to put a business into a position where they have to shut down because they didn't apply to get their renewal license. So we've added a few changes. These are proposed. This one gives the city clerk the option to ask the city council to extend a license renewal date to a date that's more convenient for the city. In other words, you get one business has to renew January 15th, one on, December 7th, whatever. The clerk could ask, well, let's move everybody to July 1. So everybody gets extended 6 months or whatever. Now, every single license is renewed on July 1. It's purely for the city's convenience. And the clerk doesn't have to do this, and the clerk and the city council doesn't have to approve of it. But I like to have the option if it worked better for us. So
where
that's-
is that in your ordinance?
This would be page 202, subpart F. F is in Frank. Subpart H is a little bit more complicated. So this is the section that really gave us a problem. So it currently says renewal has to be a minimum of 30 days prior to the license expiring. Put us into a bit of a pickle this year. So I provided you 2 different options. One's blue, one's purple. The first one, the blue part, is kind of a slap on the wrist to the businesses. It essentially says, if you don't submit within 30 days, you have to provide a written description of why you didn't submit within 30 days and how you plan to do better in the future. There's no real punishment. It's a little humiliating. And it gives us at least something to say, you admit you did it wrong. You admit that you're going to do something better in the future. The purple option is a little bit harsher. What it essentially says is, if you're late, the clerk no longer has the authority to provide you renewal. You have to go in front of the city council and explain why you screwed up. And since the city council doesn't meet the next day, if your license expires before the council can review it, your license is now suspended until that time. It's a lot harsher, and they'll be, less liked by the businesses, but it will certainly get their attention.
I like that one.
I was gonna say, it feels like adding more to the plate of the council that isn't really our,
Yeah, it's like,
Oh,
like
but-
our, I don't know. It feels micromanaging.
but does anyone like to publicly show up and explain why they were wrong?
there you go.
I think that's the point.
It's an
Is that
incentive.
it's like a stick? Is that the idea?
Incentive.
Yeah.
Isn't the state involved in them getting their license in and renewed, like a liquor license? If you don't have your license, you're SOL.
Yep, and that's actually something I had to deal with this morning, is that one of our businesses missed their renewal window. And one of the things that happens at the state level is the state contacts the city and says, have they violated anything in the last year?
Mhm,
And we had to say, yes, they did.
mhm.
It's a technical violation. It's not like they were out selling drugs to kids. They weren't, doing anything crazy, but they just didn't renew on time.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm too liberal in that way, but if you don't submit a piece of paper, I don't think you should lose your license. I don't think you should lose your business. But
If
that's
it was
just
a
me.
liquor license, that's exactly what would happen.
And so
Right.
that's why it's in front of you guys, not me.
Mm.
The Same with the state here. If we don't put our samples in on time, we get a slap on the wrist and we have to do bad things. So,
We have to do bad things,
and I'm
but they don't
thinking
shut us down as the city,
they
right?
could, they fine us like crazy and put him in jail for not doing the proper thing. So I don't have a problem with that. If they don't make it on time, shame on them. They're the one carrying all their money to the bank. They can make a stop at City Hall and apply, put their application in. That's my 2 cents worth, but
So as someone who has to have a state license, I can tell you that my nursing license expires on July 22nd
Yep.
of 2022, and it will most certainly be renewed before then. Correct. Because that is my responsibility.
so
Teacher license, same.
I think
same
we're all in
shtick.
the same agreement on purple is the one to go with. It's like, if they go away, we'll get somebody else in there. But this is my last meeting, so that's my 2 cents worth.
Would you like a survey?
Sure, Ms. Powell.
I believe that they should have their license renewed on time. And maybe there would be, I don't know what the state would do, they're number one, but there's possible to have an extension of some sort that I'm not quite sure.
Blue or purple? You get a color choice.
Well, I prefer the purple.
Okay. We're sorry, purple, Miss Atchison. Okay, I'll come back to you.
Yeah, come back to me.
Miss Conley.
I guess purple. I mean, my first,
Alright.
now, does the purple negate the possibility of the city setting a universal date?
I don't think so.
Nope.
Okay, because I can really see that being
Well,
useful for all kinds of reasons.
Now, to be fair, when the clerk issues a license, it may as well say in billboard sized letters when your renewal date is.
Sure.
There really is no excuse beyond
correct.
a little bit of unprofessionalism and incompetence on the business side.
Sure.
But I also, just me, I don't want somebody to lose their business, go out of business because they missed a window, renewal window.
Yeah, but I can tell you, if I don't renew my teaching license, I can't walk back into a classroom.
There you go.
I'd have to retake the bar exam, which I don't. wanna do,
I mean-
so
Yeah,
I get
okay.
it, But I'm presenting you guys options.
Purple,
Purple. This is Nixon.
you know my feelings anyway.
Purple. It's
All
your
right.
business.
There's 4. Miss Atchison.
Purple.
Purple, okay, it's purple it is.
If we're going to give them a.
Let's-
Renee.
There's already.
Purple.
Unanimous. Purple it is.
If there was anything at all, I'd say 15 days prior, a reminder note. And I think that would be about the only thing I would.
I
give
don't
them
want to
as far as
put that on our clerk.
No, I'm just saying, if anything, that would.
All right.
you know,
So the
that would
clerk
be-
and I did discuss that, but it's really not her job.
I didn't say you had to. I'm just saying, if anything.
I'm not opposed to her if she could, and she really wants to, providing them the reminders, but it's slapped right on their license. There's no excuse. So the rest of the ordinance is pretty much the same. But other than that, with the 7th application and the split to the HC in the downtown districts, I will bring this back to you guys at your next meeting.
Moving on then to item E, Main Street Bridge. I think we discussed that already, haven't we?
So I think I just provided you guys with the bid
Crossover
summary,
run.
Yep.
just to show you how high the bids actually were.
30.
They just came in $400,000 to $500,000 over what we expected them to be.
Yeah, I can see it.
Steel has really been going on the up. So concrete too now.
Yeah, and
So-
honestly, to get that bridge for the amount of money that we're paying,
Well, and the other options, we say no, thank you to the money and.
right? No, it's, and we've needed this bridge for, this feels like
Supposedly.
a win all the way around.
All
Hasn't
right.
there already been some work in preparation for that bridge, like the gas lines and so forth? Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, everything we do is preceded by tons of engineering work, so.
And the state will survey that thing to death, and they have their drawings already in place. So
My other question is, I didn't see any bids from Dean's on that. Did I just miss
a little
them?
bit beyond his scope,
Beyond there, okay.
bridge building. Okay, then we're moving on to the library community event application. I think this is pretty much.
Yep, so this is a little bit of a passing of the baton. I've got Donna Clark trained up real nice to know how to do these things, but this was done by Melissa, Miss Melissa. She just didn't provide us with the event maps. I have a generally good idea of what she's proposing, but you know, she's got to show me. So she gave me these the day your agenda was put together. So I wanted to make sure you guys saw them. You know, I don't know how you guys want to proceed. This event's November 20th. The other event is
They have a thing on the library page.
December 4th.
On it.
Yeah.
You guys have your next meeting on November 11th. So you
I'd
can
say-
technically see both of these again if you want. But I think one of them, they just needed to have a place to load and unload a Polar Express train.
That's all.
And the other one was
Like
going
it's
to
indoors.
occur in the heart of Cedar Springs. So not terribly complicated. I just got to bring some more information to you.
Like
Sure.
question, let the manager deal with this.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Just to follow up on your comments, have they provided a route?
They have not.
Okay, I didn't know if they had since you'd sent out your email or not.
No, as a matter of fact, that's actually partially my fault. I saw Melissa at the library the other day and she was putting together an escape room. And I saw all sorts of jewels and gold coins and I just want to touch instead of talking about business. So
Okay.
I'll follow up with her and obviously I'll send the information to you once I get it discovered. But if you guys are okay with me approving this project,
I don't have a problem with it.
No,
Mike,
go
just
ahead.
just a suggestion. Now that the trails through the heart of Cedar Springs are been paved, perhaps they'd like to take their little train through down the trails instead of closing the road. I thought that would be delightful.
yep. So we wouldn't close the road
Mhm.
regardless, but I don't think this train could do that.
Oh, okay.
It's a great idea. I just don't know if the train would be able to make the tight turns in some places and other things.
Yeah.
But
Other
what
issues.
we'll probably end up doing is similar to what FFA does with their hayride. We'll probably set aside the area by the staging room bathrooms for
Mhm.
loading and unloading. We'll go in a kind of a square block around and offload.
Like the carriage rides.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Has Chamber mentioned anything about doing the carriage rides this year?
No,
I don't think so.
no, they haven't.
I'm going tomorrow. I'll find out.
Yeah. Any other further discussions? Let the manager renew this for the library.
Mhm.
Moving on then to item G. Discussion of removal and demo of the old fire station building.
So I know lots of people are interested in this. I did start working on the RFP. And then I hit a roadblock. Apparently, we're legally obligated to do an investigation on whether any asbestos is in that building.
Oh, sure.
I've spoken to a number of people. Most people think there is none. Some people think there's a little here, maybe a little there, but I don't know. So we've been in contact with the city engineer. We're going to put together an asbestos investigation. And then based on that, we'll be able to complete the RFP. I'll bring that to the board for approval, and then we'll go out and get some quotes for getting this building removed, likely in early spring. Now, the next discussion is going to be what do we do with the property underneath it? But
That's another day.
that's another day. So sometime after Jerry's gone.
Maybe sooner than later. Okay, any questions or concerns? You know, we, go ahead, anybody? We had
I
said
guess
we-
my only question would be on the asbestos. Is there much of an expense involved?
Could be.
Yeah, we don't know.
depending
No,
on
but
what
I
they
mean, to
find.
have it, to check.
To check.
Do we have to allocate money? Do we?
Yeah.
Okay.
We asked the engineers, they'll give us a quote.
Okay,
That's usually not too much. It's
Yeah.
What the remediation is what costs.
is what costs, but I didn't know if you needed a thing from us.
No,
to-
I'll communicate it with you as soon as possible. I mean, I have a spending authority of something like $3,000.
Okay,
If it's less than that, I'll pay for it. If it's
right,
more than
right.
that,
I didn't know if it would be more than that, and if then you couldn't get it inspected if you didn't ask us.
Okay. Moving on then to item H, Ash Street, Mrs. Powell.
Yes,
Go on.
could you give us a update on what's going on with the property at the end of Ash Street for
Sure.
the neighborhoods over there?
Yeah, so, I mean, we've been in discussions with deans for a long time. And my understanding was that they were dumping soil out there. Of course, you guys know how wet the property is. And they were supposed to be dumping, Bill, do you remember the number 20 or 30,000 cubic yards of soil? A huge amount of soil was needed to convert that property into a dry enough, and I think elevation for the sewer system as well. Because the original plan was to put, I think, 8 to 12 homes out there as a miniature neighborhood. But you know, Mr. LaRose and I spoke with deans, we explained the city's position. And I think we've come to a resolution that they won't be dumping out there anymore until such time as they've received either an approved site plan from the planning commission or the city gives them some other kind of grading approval, which at this point, you know, they haven't even applied for. So I think for the time being, they're just going to be done with that property. And so we shouldn't have any future problems. I guess that's the city's position at this point.
And they would have to like pull a permit, right? I mean, that's the
Correct.
way that would work,
So for a site plan, they'd have to go and get approval from the planning commission.
right?
And for grading approval, they'd have to come to me as a zoning administrator
And pull a permit.
and pull a permit.
Yeah, I had a resident emailed me, I got one from him, and the rest of the council probably got one, Mr.
Mhm.
Norkus saying that they were dumping again.
Well, we just came up with this resolution 2 days ago, 3 days ago. Yeah, so this is a recent change.
Okay,
So I don't know when the dumping was occurring last, but
The other thing they did add.
so we did ask them to spread it around and seed it to help prevent some erosion from occurring.
well, we can take our kickback under the table and help them seed it.
Yeah, you joke, but there are people who hear you say that and think we're serious.
That's appalling, and I take very serious offense to that. This board has never took a dime from anybody. And we'll move on.
Can I, so Mike, are you gonna let the people from that area know what's going on? Or could you?
I can if you want me to. I don't normally contact private individuals. I mean, the situation's resolved. They shouldn't be seeing any more trucks out there, apart from, you know, some spreading the soil around. But I'm just not in the practice of like sending individual letters out to
Right.
people.
Which is
Would you-
part of why I think Ms. Powell wanted to put this on the agenda.
Right, so that we've
So in
publicly
theory, it
addressed
lives-
it now, it should be enough.
It lives on our video.
Okay.
We're done.
All right.
Okay. Any other discussions or business at this time before we move on to council comments or communications? Hearing none, we have several items on communications. The 2021 council dates, which I will no longer be attending.
You can if you want.
No. Moving on then to department reports. Mr. Womack. Okay, moving on then to department
was just gonna say, that's tough because I feel like my heart and soul is in all the council stuff and all the planning commission stuff and all the DDA stuff. I'm always happy to hear Doug Bradevelt, who's otherwise a fairly dry individual, say we're doing a good job. He sees other communities, I'm sure, doing not so good of a job. And for, the last several years, we have had relatively few complaints from the citizens, which I like to think is because we're doing a great job. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that. I think we're doing a good job.
Thank you. Mr. LaRose.
I'd just like to say, Jerry, I've worked under you for a tremendous amount of years, learned a lot from you, and we'll miss you around.
That only took about 10 minutes.
Just thank you for, oh my gosh, all the crazy stuff with the storms and then all the red flannel and just, you have just done, your department has just done so, going and fishing, trying to get a phone battery out of a sewer. All day. Oh my gosh. You're a
Okay.
rock star.
Thank you. Police Department, Sergeant Probst. Any comments to Mr. Sergeant Probst?
I guess I should ask the city manager, but are we going to have the traffic cops here for Saturday night? Is that our plan now?
Well, so part of the reason I was a little hesitant about that discussion was
Mhm,
normally we get these things taken care of a month ahead of time,
mhm.
able to get people, lined up for it. The sheriff's department sees the same kind of shortages and problems that everybody's seeing right now.
Right.
So I've been assuring people that we're definitely doing on Friday, set everything for Friday. So I'm sure that Sergeant Probst, like everything else he does, is able to pull a rabbit out of a hat. We'll desperately try to have people here that day.
Great.
And our time frame is,
I believe it was 5 to 7, maybe 5 to 7:30. Sergeant Probst, are you there? Are you sleeping in a big comfy chair somewhere? Oh, he's gonna hear about it tomorrow.
I believe it was 5 to.
Yeah, I mean, the number was listed in your thing. I just don't have it on top.
That's fine.
We'll put advertising out.
good, thanks.
No problem.
And I would just like to say that they did an amazing job on Red Flannel. And it was packed and they kept everybody safe and did a really fabulous job. So thank you, Todd.
Ian with us.
Can't get the mic on his phone to work.
Oh, likely story.
I love it. He's like texting Darla and telling her.
No.
All right, then, moving on to Chief Frazier.
Uh-oh, it's gonna stand up.
Oh, boy. Look out.
First off, I don't really know what to say, Jerry, but it's been fun. It's been, pardon my English, a hell of a ride. You and I go way back, fire department, DPW supervisor, DPW worker, school board. As the crowd has said, city's a different place because of you.
Can I say?
You left a footprint, but it's kind of muddy.
Yeah, that's good.
Just a couple things that come in after I put my summary together. We applied, well, almost a year ago for a FEMA grant, $425,000 for a new pumper tender. And we got a thanks but no thanks letter last week. So we will try again. We had another grant that we wrote for firehouse subs for some extrication equipment that was also denied, and we will try again. We've been busy the last couple, 3 months. We're 15 to 20 calls ahead of what we were last year
at this time. If it continues, we'll be close to 700 calls. For a small community and half of Nelson Township, I think everyone on the staff, and I'm not trying to take anything, excuse me, anything away from anybody else, but everyone on my staff has been there when we needed, and it's appreciated. We had pretty good turnout for mid final day. We opened the doors, the Model A was on display. It's not done. Parts are ordered. And it will be done in time before I retire. Good. Oh, it depends on the Model A is when my retirement date is, but it's looking pretty good for those that have seen it.
It is.
It's a ways from being done, but it's gonna be as close to original as possible, and that was one of my big concerns. I didn't want to put turn signals on it, and I didn't want to put air horns on it. I want it original.
Great. Thank you, Chief. You and I go back a long way. You were always an excellent pump operator when we were running into the burning house. I could always count on you to keep the line charged for me.
Well,
So you
since
go back a long ways.
since you and
Ooh, sure.
left the fire department, I went on and I have a BS degree for those that don't know, and it's not from college. Thank you. If nobody else has anything, I'll sit down and behave.
Thank you. Thank
I
all the
don't believe it.
firefighters and all their diligence for over the many years I've been involved with them. They do a great job, and thank you. City Clerk. Will you be able to provide the trick or treat patrol for us on Saturday instead of Friday?
Is that for me?
Yes.
Todd.
Sorry about that. Technical difficulties.
Great. You
It's
fixed
hard.
it.
Yeah, it's hard to transmit from jail here. So, which is my house. So,
Okay.
we put in the request last week. We were thinking that the businesses wanted Friday, so we wanted to get that request out there to our guys. It's been pretty hard for us this year with all the overtime our guys are getting to fill these spots. So the request went in for Friday night. That still has not been filled. I'll change that request to Saturday, and maybe that'll help fill it. So we'll do our best to get a couple guys out there on Saturday nights. Yeah, and then the other thing I wanted to say was wish Jerry the best. I just want to make sure he knows that his get out of jail free card expires in November.
I appreciate that, and I'll look forward to it. Thank you.
I don't have much, just a reminder, public accuracy testing is Monday. Public is welcome to come and watch us do the testing that we do on election equipment before every election. So anyone interested, please do attend Monday at 4 o'clock. And then Jerry, I just wanted to say thank you. We met probably a decade ago and you probably don't remember it.
Yep, I do.
You do.
At the Rod and Gun Club, you were the one on the court.
Yep. And also at Miranda in the Park.
Yep.
So fast forward 10 years. At that time, I had no idea what local government did. And I thought, wow, Jerry Hall, the mayor, he must be somebody really important.
Really.
And you know what, Jerry, you are. You're
Thank
very
you.
important
Thank you.
and you are a staple in this community. I wanted to thank you for your service to this community.
Just ask one question. My name is not on the ballot coming in November.
It is not on the ballot. Enjoy retirement, Jerry.
Thank you very much for all your kind words, and I do truly mean it. Moving on to the finance director and treasurer, Mrs. Falcon.
I have one thing to add to my report, and any questions on my report that I submitted?
It was
Pretty,
fabulous.
yeah,
You would make
usual.
it So we can understand it.
Usual stuff. So I'm going to put on my Rotary hat here for a second, trying to get a plug out to the community. This coming Monday at 4:30, a Feeding America truck comes to the bottom of the hill by Hilltop, full of food. There's no income requirements. Please, this truck is in jeopardy. If people don't come and get the food there, the truck will not come anymore. There are other locations to get, food pantries in town here. City Impact has a food pantry and so does
Is
the
there
United
a link
Church.
On the Rotary page or something that we could post on the city page?
Well, I'm kind of giving a special plug because Cedar Springs Rotary is sponsoring this truck. So we're paying the bill to have this truck come. Next month, Feeding America will pay for it. If we can't find a sponsor for December, it won't come. And then come January on, it probably won't come back again.
You have volunteer workers to distribute the food.
We do. Yep.
'Cause I
So
volunteered in Florida for that and it was great rewarding.
it's a drive-through. We're back to a drive-through setup again Monday, starting 4 o'clock. Come and get in line. Really, all we need is your name. We don't care where you're from or how much you make, anything. It's just your name and you will get the food that we have there to give out. So please spread the word. We're trying to hit every media outlet we can. The last month, we gave out 58 orders to residents or, people. So families, yeah.
Great.
So
Where's that
Rotary
gonna be
is
again?
always a good. program.
on the other side of Hilltop, there's like that 2 parking lots there that aren't really used for the school.
I know
The
they'll-
truck comes at 4. We start distributing at 4:30.
Went by the therapy.
Yeah, go in by the, IV rehab.
Next to the annex.
Yep. So,
I have 2 questions.
yeah.
So does Feeding America say that there have to be so many clients for them to be able to have a truck come then?
Yes.
Okay.
And we even said that the food doesn't go to waste because what doesn't get distributed there gets brought to City Impact.
Oh,
They said, we don't care. City Impact is a completely different entity. They get their own truck on different days, their own deliveries. We can't move the truck to City Impact. This is our destination. This is where the food needs to be
and then,
distributed.
how would one go about helping to sponsor the truck to come?
Next time.
Give me a call and I will give you, her name is Ashley. She's a new contact through the school. She is the new coordinator for this truck that comes.
Okay.
Yep.
Wonderful.
It's a great program. So
Yeah.
Get the word out. President Falcon says.
Thank you.
Any questions of Ms. Falcon on her?
Chief.
I have been in contact with Ashley, so I do have contact information if you want to see me after the conference.
Thank you. Thank you all. Code enforcement, building inspections, boards and commission minutes. Any questions on that? Moving on then to item 11, council comments. Start with Mrs. Powell.
I can't talk without crying, so.
Keep it short. We're getting late.
Okay, well. Good luck, Jerry. That's all I can say. We love you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
I've enjoyed working with you on Planning Commission and also here. I've learned from you on both boards. It makes us wonder, I think a lot of us, we aren't going to get all the information that we have privy to us right now. Yeah, so we get the extra stuff. So thank you for that. Thank you for teaching us. So we'll miss you. And I told you no grumbling tonight. You didn't do too bad.
Thank you.
And appreciate it. And also on a personal level, I'm running for reelection as my time is up. So I enjoyed being on this board. I was on Planning Commission before this. I enjoy working with every one of you and I would look forward to doing it again. And I'm learning and the longer you're on this board, I think the more you learn. Right there is a example, Jerry. So use me and we, once again, just like Ashley said, make sure you go vote. And the only way we know what you want and what you need in the community is if you tell us. So show up at meetings and also show up to vote. That's how we know. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Conley.
Oh, Mr. Mayor.
Ugh, keep it short.
We have done crazy, crazy stuff like school board, and
Yeah.
we have had crazy people scream at us.
Oh, yeah.
We have
We have
built a surprising amount of buildings.
Yeah.
We have had a lot of conversations over picking beans because you were my city council person, but you were my DPW director and then school board person and my neighbor and my
Yeah.
dear friend. And we joke, Jerry knows a guy because he knows somebody who can fix every problem or knows every history. I remember saying to you when I asked you to run for council after having been DPW director that we needed you to be the mayor because you knew where all the bodies were buried. Literally, you dug the holes and put them in the cemetery.
Yeah.
So the history and knowledge that you have of the infrastructure of everything in the city, but also for the school. I don't know the conversations about roofs and water and roads, and we are going to have to keep you on speed dial. Your historical knowledge is overwhelming, and this community is so much better because you decided to be here. You could have picked so many places, and you picked here.
My hometown.
And we are fundamentally better for you having made that choice in a way I don't even, my kids' kids will see it. And
Okay.
thank you doesn't feel like enough.
Well, thank you for all your escalades. This is my town, the way I always looked at it. So thank you. Mr. Groves.
Jerry, not only have we shared a name. Okay,
Boards, fire
we've
department.
had a similar path.
Yeah.
In reaching the council here, you sooner than I, through the fire department, so on and so forth, and our commitment now. Not all of them have had the opportunity to know you back when you were a kid, as I was, working in your dad's garage
Yeah,
up in Sand Lake.
that's true.
And not knowing each other well then, but knowing enough about each other to know who we were.
Yep.
Appreciate everything you've done, the leadership that you have given, and hope all the best here in the future. And don't anticipate that we aren't going to be seeing each other here in the future.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I'm not last this time.
No,
Okay, well, I'm
I'm gonna
usually
make
last.
Miss Raise.
All right, well, I need you to retire more often because that cake was delicious and it pisses me off. And keep that coming, that would be fine. But Jerry, thank you for being an example of what lifelong community service looks like. You do have a lot of institutional knowledge that will certainly be missed, but it's an example that knowledge can be gained through a lifetime of commitment, and thank you for that.
Thank you all. Mrs. Race,
You missed the cake.
she can't talk, so. it's
Okay.
over. Dang.
Anyway, yeah, I'm a little bummed that I didn't get any cake. So if anyone want to just throw a piece on the front porch, that would be great. Could really use it right now. But it's been a pleasure working next to you the last 3 years. I started off in the planning commission. And so I had no idea what I was doing, and you, not physically, but took my hand and said, we're going to figure this out. And you answered every question I had. And I feel like there's going to be more questions coming along no matter what, but I truly see all the love that you bring into the city and every person you've touched. And we wish you nothing but the best, and we'll be excited to see you around town.
Thank you all. I appreciate all the comments and everything, it's like, I did what I did, but not for all the escalade, it's just, this is my town.
You know, I grew up here. You know, if you've been in Cedar, you know what Cedar is. So I've always been like, do your best. Never look back, because if you do, somebody will pass you. You know, and I'll be around. You know, when I retired from DPW director, I put a thing in that I would get $100 an hour, a minimum 2 hours. And I never got paid. And a lot of people have asked me questions, so now maybe Mrs. Falcon will turn loose a little money and I can get it under the table. Like we are with deans.
Oh,
That just, to me, I'm gonna go back to it because it is so irritating and appalling to even make that statement. It just irritates me to no end, you know, especially leaving this council. My last meeting, even the insinuation that this council would do that, it just irritates me. Thank you, one and all. You know, this is a team effort. We've done all this together. You know, I didn't do it by myself, and thank you all, and stand adjourned.
I adjourned. Do you need a 10-minute break before?
No, we're done.
He's-
Oh,
I'd say
Wait,
put
what?
it on next month's.
Yeah.
Put it on next month's agenda. I'm okay with that if everybody else is. Did
Well,
everybody do their evaluation?
Yeah.
It's all up to the city manager if he wants to wait another month.
Want to wait
Oh.
another month? It's not-
Jesse, it's so good to see you.
So I didn't do it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
At the end, because we-
Thank you.
I agree.
Yes, it was. We did a lot. You know, you were a great asset. You helped us a lot. Library and
I'll try not to read your
all the other stuff.
answer. Read if you want to.
But yeah,
Yes,
it's good to
be
see
happy
you.
to do
She's
that.
done
What
it.
you should read. So Rebecca can read.
I haven't
For the
seen
closed
you
session.
around, so don't.
We gonna do closed session or we
Yeah,
gonna wait?
for his,
You start to pay
Right.
dividends
And then
and
we're
go
gonna-
over.
Well, one of these days it'd be nice if we get together, go ahead.
Address.
Motion.
Grumpy over there said to have beer tonight. Evaluation.
Yeah. it's nice,
Okay, I'm ready.
We'll be together.
Yeah, we will. We'll get together and have a beer or two.
Yes, and community school coordinator.
Thank you.
Office work cell number.
Thank you. Good to have you guys. Look, I didn't mean this to happen. I didn't want to, it's like, I don't want this, you know, it's like, come on. Just doing my job.